Happy New Year and Happy New Season as we welcome you to Stegeman Coliseum for the first time in 2024 as the number 16 Georgia Gym Dogs get ready to host the NC State Wolfpack, making their debut as members of the ACC for the first time today. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kevin Kopp alongside former Georgia Gym Dog All-American Sarah Persinger-Sailors. Sarah, this is a day where Georgia is welcoming back its alumni. It's focusing on the storied history that you know so much about. Of course, you are a big part of that yourself. But also, this is a day where Georgia is welcoming this number one freshman class, and they are going to have to rely on them in a big way today. For NC State, they don't have many new faces, but it's a new conference as they get to make their debut as members of the ACC, which is sponsoring women's gymnastics for the first time this year.
Definitely a lot of history inside of Stegeman Coliseum for this Georgia program, and history being made as the NC State is joining the ACC conference in this inaugural season. And I think both teams today are just going to be focused on process over perfection. For Georgia, that looks like moving through tiny little mistakes and staying with the routine. And for NC State, they really just want to come in here and translate what they do in Raleigh in practice and put it on the competition floor.
All right, well, this is a much heralded Georgia freshman class, and they are going to need them today, Sarah, maybe even more than Courtney Kupets-Carter knew. Unfortunately, an injury in the warm-ups to Haley DeYoung. That has opened up some more spots in the Georgia lineups, and we are going to see freshmen early and often today for the Gym Dogs.
Those January jitters can be a huge factor for these athletes as you go into the beginning of season, and it's a huge opportunity for this underclassmen, the number one recruiting class. They have a real opportunity to show what they are capable of on the floor today.
And for NC State, they have a lot of experience. In fact, 3 fifth-years back, among them Emily Shepard, who has been so good throughout her career. For Kim Landris to have her back another season, wow, what a luxury to build around.
Just an incredible athlete all around, and I know that her teammates are excited to have her back out on the floor this year, leading the team not only in the gym by example, but with what she can put up in terms of scores.
And we will see her as one of 3 scheduled all-arounders for NC State today as we look at Kim Landris leading the Wolfpack. And boy, talking with her earlier this week, Sarah, she was just so excited about the challenge, stepping into the ACC, getting to compete in that conference, which has so much history in so many sports, now coming to women's gymnastics. This is a team that really feels like they're ready for the challenge. And we will get things underway as Georgia begins on vault, and the season with it is underway.
I mean, just an incredible way to start for Amanda Cashman. Yurchenko layout full. We're going to see a lot more 10-0 start value vaults in this Georgia lineup this season, but she starts out with a clean Yurchenko full that starts from a 9.95.
And exactly who you would want if you're Courtney Kupets-Carter. Again, that injury to DeYoung, which obviously is going to play such a factor today for Georgia, and we wish her all the best as she recovers, to be able to put a 5th-year out there in that position, and everyone can exhale a little bit as the first routine is underway for Georgia. Now to NC State, Kaylee Adamitis, the sophomore on bars.
Pay attention to her beautiful lines as she works through this routine. Full extension across the bar. Just a little bit of knees, maybe a missed handstand, but all things that you can work through. Ends with a stalder to double tuck dismount. Finds the landing, just a small step forward as she tries to salute as quick as she can, which this season is actually going to be a deduction. You have to really show control on the landing and salute before you turn to the judges.
Yeah, we'll see what the judges do with that one there. And meanwhile, Sarah, the changes keep coming for Georgia in their vault lineup. Kelsey Lee, who was supposed to go in as a freshman, has been scratched out of the vault lineup. So Georgia is going to go 5 up on vault, and that ratchets up the pressure on everyone just a little bit. Typically, you get 6 routines, only have to count 5, but they've got another veteran in Ashlyn Leclerc, a transfer out of Kentucky, to go second after Cashman.
She is a powerhouse. Yurchenko layout full, small hop back. She is actually capable of Yurchenko 1.5, so we'll hope to see that as she gets a little bit deeper into the season. Take another look here. Good block off the table. You can see just that shift back. Needs to hold that landing a little bit more secure, but Coach Kupets-Carter said that she would rather see these athletes go aggressive and take the hop or take the step than go short on the landing.
Yeah, I think that's certainly one you can live with in week one, and you've got the entire scope of the regular season. These are two teams that have postseason aspirations. Into February and into March is when you can clean up those lineups. As we look at Courtney Kupets-Carter in her 7th season as head coach of her alma mater, the Southeast Regional Coach of the Year of the WCGA back in 2019. And she's got a big challenge ahead of her this season, Sarah. A couple of injuries that have lingered into the start of this season. Again, a freshman class that is really highly touted and highly thought of, but it's one thing to have all those recruiting accolades. It's another thing to put it out here in front of 10,000 fans at Stegeman Coliseum. Up second for NC State on bars will be Peyton Childs, the junior. Career high of 9.85. As you look at your scores come up in the bottom right corner, waiting on the first score from Kaylee Adamitis, and we see that Amanda Cashman has started off the meet for Georgia with a 9.8. We'll get the score from LeClaire momentarily.
And this is part of the sport too, just having to stand by and wait for the scores to come in. She'll need to calm her nerves and focus on just swinging through this routine. Starts off with a huge pike Jaeger straight to shoot over. You'll want to see the athletes working through these handstands and hitting that solid position on top of the bar just to hop on the landing, but another clean routine for NC State.
Yeah, I thought one of the interesting things, Sarah, was as we talked with Kim Landris, she talked early about wanting to find these landings, that exclamation point in the routine. You don't often hear coaches talk about it in week one, but there you see that little hop back with 2 feet from Peyton Giles.
And I think this NC State team is just so hungry after how they ended their last season, and they really have big aspirations for where they want to go. So if you can hit those handstands and stick those landings early, that's what you want to do. First, 1.5 Yurchenko from Georgia. It's a 10.0 start value from the freshman, just to hop on the landing, but what a great way to come out and put a big vault in the Coliseum. Take another look, you'll see her legs are glued together. Great control on the landing. That's a vault that this team will love to have over the next 4 years.
Yeah, what a moment for Jada Battle as she begins her career here in Stegeman, one of those Georgia freshmen that we are going to see today, and gives Georgia their first 10.0 start value, so you'll take those deductions from a 10.0 instead of out of a 9.95, which is what happened for Cashman and LeClaire on those Yurchenko layout fulls. And now looking at Maddie Hall, speaking of freshmen, and again, trying to calm those nerves, as Maddie Hall is going to be a freshman that NC State counts on in a big way. All 4 events today, she is in the all-around for the first time in her career. Obviously a freshman that they feel very, very highly about there in Raleigh.
It's always tough to start your career out on the road and be relied on 4 events, but like I said, it's awesome to see these athletes be able to come out and just be baptized by fire, see what they can handle. And with this first meet of the season, they're going to learn a lot about themselves and how they can go back in the gym, improve, and get to where they want to be at the end of the season.
And Sarah, as we get ready to see Maddie Hall compete here, talk about what the judges are looking for during this first meet of the year in terms of some points of emphasis on bars, what we're watching for.
On bars, it's important to keep your rhythm. We want to see hit handstands. We want to see clean lines. You're looking for straight knees, pointed toes. And of course, just like Coach Landry said, you want to see the exclamation point on the dismount. Sticky feet, don't let those toes move, and hold the landing at least for 1 second, just like that. That is textbook.
Well, you talk about the exclamation point in a routine. There is one for Maddie Hall, who gets to stick her first collegiate routine. We'll get another look here, Sarah. Beautiful work from Hall, who I thought got stronger as this routine went on.
There is just nothing better than finishing your routine right on top of the landing, holding it, saluting. That is going to be a boost to her confidence.
All right, following a 9.8 from Jada Battle in her first vault in her career, senior Katie Finnegan up 4th for Georgia.
One of the leaders on this team showing us Yurchenko 1.5. You can see she's trying to hold that landing and really put the exclamation point. Nice clean vault in the air and just the tiniest hop. We'll take another look. You can see she gets her arms back, big block on the table, 1.5, tiny hop forward. But that is definitely a great start and something that she can continue to improve on as the season goes on.
And remember, we mentioned it earlier, Georgia is only competing 5 on vault, no margin for error. They've hit their first 4. They have 1 more to go, which will be Addie Wall. Meanwhile, we check back in with NC State over on bars. It will be another freshman, Katie Harper, who will begin her afternoon as we wait the scores for Maddie Hall, who just got her day started in the all-around. Harper, a freshman out of Columbus, Ohio, will be making her debut today on bars. This will be the only event that we're scheduled to see her this afternoon.
And Kevin, sometimes being on one event can actually put more pressure on the athlete because they have one job to do. So they want to go out and do the absolute best that they can for their team and their one opportunity to contribute a score. Nice first handstand. Clear hit to Ginger combination. You see she caught the bar just a little bit close. Had to bend those arms. The judges will take a deduction for that. That's that rhythm that we're looking for. Nice last handstand, setting up for her dismount. Double layout. Once again, finds the landing. Great job.
Well, you have to be really impressed, Sarah, with the way that NC State has come out and found some of these landings. And like you said, you look at catching that Ginger close, having to get that rhythm back and that energy back, and boy, she did it in a big way, finishing up there.
Just a really beautiful routine from the freshman. I would say that if that's her one event she's contributing to, she's going to be really excited about that.
All right, a very important vault coming up here for Georgia. Addie Wall up 5th, the freshman to close out this vault lineup.
Big Yurchenko, 1.5, had to take a sizable hop on the landing, but to cap off this rotation with only 5 vaults going, it's better to go aggressive, and she did exactly what her team needed her to do.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely sign for that one if you're Courtney Kupets-Carter. Take it, move on to bars. You hit 5 vaults, relied on a couple of freshmen as we get another look there at Wall.
Great job from her, just really beautiful form in the air. It's great to see that Georgia has such powerful vaults and a little bit of room for improvement because, of course, that's what you want to do. You want to get back in the gym and find those half tenths and tenths that you can get back to add to your final score.
And obviously, we don't know the status of Haley DeYoung moving forward. She would have added a 4th 10-0 vault into that lineup, and time will tell. We talked about LeClaire potentially being able to upgrade to a 1.5. This is an event that Georgia hopes can be a strength for them this season once they get all those pieces back. And now you talk about the heavy hitters at the end of this NC State bars order. You've got your 2 fifth-years, 2 all-arounders, Lex Ortega and Emily Shepard here in the 5 and 6 spot. And this is a really great area, Sarah, where NC State can make up some ground and put in some big numbers at the end of their bars line.
Definitely a big opportunity. And one thing that Coach Landris said about Lex Ortega is that she is a go-getter. She is going to be vocal in the gym. She is going to be motivating to her teammates around her. And when it's time to go, and it's showtime, she is ready.
She was the all-around champion in last year's 2023 Eagle Gymnastics Championship. NC State departing the Eagle for the ACC. This is their first year competing as members of the Atlantic Coast Conference, inaugural season. Ortega and Shepard, 2 gymnasts that have been doing it at a very high level for a very long time, can certainly compete with anyone in the country as we look at Ortega on bars. Oof.
Just an unfortunate fall, and it just goes to show you that those jitters can come for upperclassmen as well as the underclassmen. Take another look at what happened there. She does a clear hit to Tkachev and just isn't able to quite hold on. Maybe didn't get her body rotated quick enough around the bar. Important now to just keep her composure and finish the routine strong. It's going to be another deduction for tapping her feet on the ground and breaking rhythm. Just the dismount left, double layout, hop on the landing. Hopefully she can get back in the gym and just kind of erase that from her mind and move forward. Take one more look at the dismount, double layout, stretch position. A lot of potential for her, and that's a big routine that will be able to contribute to the score of this bars lineup when it is a hit.
A look at NC State this season, picked in a tie for first in the preseason coaches poll along with their rival UNC. UNC began their season last night, opened with a 193-725 in a quad meet at home. NC State's been in the NCAA tournament for the last 5 years, trying to go for their 6th time in a row. In fact, they were here in Athens the last time that Georgia hosted a regional, and that was a year where NC State actually came all the way out of the play-in round, that opening round, to make it to the final 16. And they are hoping to get to that plateau again, or maybe push it even further this year. And we're going to see Emily Shepard, the back-to-back Eagle Gymnast of the Year, up in the 6th spot. And this is exactly who you want, Sarah. Following a fall, the first little bit of adversity today so far for NC State, you get Shepard in the anchor role, a chance to drop that earlier fall from Ortega.
And sometimes it's good to deal with that adversity early so you can learn from it.
Speaking of adversity, Georgia having to compete 5 up, 5 count on vault, and they got through it. A high score of 9.85 from Katie Finnegan. That's a total team score of 48.975. The magic number is of 49. You do that 4 times, that's a 196, and obviously eventually want to start building from there into the 197 plus range. But 48.975 puts Georgia just a touch under at 196 pace, and obviously a lot of gymnastics left as we are just one rotation into today's meet.
Emily also having to deal a little bit with that waiting game. Nice first handstand right on top of the bar. That's what you want to see. Blind to straddle Jaeger. Once again, you see her just bending those elbows a slight bit to catch the bar. Ooh, and some knees, a little bit of form break on that pack salto. Able to keep the routine going. Full twisting double. Slight step forward on the dismount. I mean, a great way to handle the pressure, the waiting. We'll take another look here. Great first handstand right on top of the bar. The start of the routine was beautiful. Just a little close on that Jaeger. Take a look here at the form break on the pack salto. Something that she'll definitely get back in the gym and be able to clean up.
Yeah, so interestingly, Sarah, we talked, about what an advantage the experience is for NC State, and maybe a few uncharacteristic struggles from the graduates. As Ortega, you see the score flash up there, an 8-8. They'll certainly be able to drop that and replace it with the score here from Emily Shepard, but not necessarily the way Ortega and Shepard would have wanted to begin their 5th year. And actually the high scores at the moment from their pair of freshmen, Maddie Hall and Katie Harper, both with 9.8s, along with junior Peyton Childs.
And that exactly is why it's a team sport. Anyone can contribute the high score. You never know where it's going to come from. And I'm excited to see how, as we move through this competition, how all of these freshmen are able to put up big scores for their teams. But of course, NC State happy to get through that first rotation and maybe shake off some of those jitters as they move through the competition. They'll be able to settle into their gymnastics a little bit more.
And now we will have an exhibition routine. This is Maddie Reed, a sophomore for NC State, and both teams will take advantage of some opportunities to exhibition some routines that won't count toward the overall team score. But Sarah, there is no replicating competition experience, and to be able to do it here in Stegeman Coliseum, something that obviously Kim Landers wants her team to take advantage of.
Definitely, anytime you can get that added experience for an athlete to go up and do a routine in competition setting, because as we've seen today for Georgia, you never know when your name's going to be called, and it's a next man up mentality. She's doing a great job swinging through this routine. Just the dismount, full twisting double, tiny step on the landing. But a great job.
And that will take us to the end of rotation number 1. Georgia goes 5 up and hits 5 on vault. NC State, by virtue of that routine from Emily Shepard, able to drop a fall on bars, and both teams survive and advance to the second rotation. It'll be Georgia on bars and NC State on vault when we come back to Stegeman Coliseum with rotation number 2. Saturday afternoon in Athens, and Georgia with the lead at the end of one rotation, 48-9-7-5 for the Gym Dogs on vault. They lead by 2.5 tenths over NC State, who opens 48-7-5 on bars. Meet one of the 2024 season as we kick off a new year in the sport. Sarah, so much to be excited about as we look at some news and notes in the preseason. And you got to start with Oklahoma, the 2-time defending national champions, picked number 1 again, looking like the middle of a dynasty in the making for Oklahoma. But if there's going to be a team to challenge them, it may well come out of the SEC, with 8 teams in the preseason poll, including the number 2 and number 3 schools in Florida and LSU. And as we've said, the ACC has its inaugural season of college gymnastics. NC State, one of those teams that will compete for a conference championship on March 23rd. So a lot to be excited about for you and I and any fan of college gymnastics as a sport this year.
Absolutely, and the rise of popularity of college gymnastics, I mean, we are seeing Coliseums sell out, we're seeing TV ratings go up. It's just a really exciting time to be a fan of college gymnastics.
We have a terrific crowd on hand today at Stegeman Coliseum to see Georgia compete against NC State. You see Georgia there at number 16 in the preseason poll, but boy, the SEC is just loaded once again. You look at every team in the top 25, 2, 3, 8, 9, 12, 15, 16, and 17. And that's not even to mention, Sarah, Oklahoma, who will be coming into the conference in 2025. You could throw the number 1 team in the country and a potential 3-time defending national champion into the mix. This is just, it does not get any stronger as a collegiate gymnastics conference.
I mean, just so many powerhouses in this sport, and with these rankings, you never know how they're going to turn out, because you see teams like Kentucky who are really on the rise, Missouri coming into their own over the last couple of seasons, Georgia with the number 1 recruiting class this season in their freshman team. I mean, anything is possible.
All right, and speaking of Georgia and those freshmen, it was actually a senior that led the way for the Gym Dogs with a 9.85, Katie Finnegan on vault.
Huge 1.5-year Chenko, able to just take a tiny hop on the landing. And then, of course, over to bars.
And on the other side for NC State, Maddie Hall.
She is such a great bar worker, swinging all the way through this routine, hitting handstands. Take a look at this dismount. Sets it up nicely, double tuck, and just nails that landing. Sticky feet, they do not move.
We head to rotation number 2 when we come back. Georgia on the uneven bars, NC State to vault, with Georgia in the lead by a 1/4 point. Look at Courtney Kupets-Carter in her 7th season as head coach of the Georgia Gym Dogs. We look at the preseason summary for Georgia, ranked 16th in the preseason poll after finishing 20th last season. I think part of the reason for that bump, you look at the 8 freshmen coming in, the #1 recruiting class in the country from our friends at College Gym News, 5 sophomores, and then 5 combined seniors and graduate students. Sarah, it's the right mix, and unfortunately, Georgia's just a little short on numbers right now because of some injuries, some folks that they hope to get back, and this is a team that I think Coach Kupets-Carter feels like can be stronger at the end of the season than maybe they are right here in week 1.
She definitely has a lot of confidence in her athletes, and if there's anyone that can lead this team, it is her. She has such a storied career herself, not only at Georgia, but at the Olympic level. She knows how to deal with adversity, and she knows how to lead her athletes through those challenges.
Right, she had a really difficult Achilles injury during her career, came back stronger than ever, and capped off her career with a team and individual national titles. As we look at our meet summary from today, Georgia in the lead by 2.5 tenths at the end of one rotation. NC State led by 9/8 from 2 of their true freshmen. Talk about those jitters, none to be found from Maddie Hall and Katie Harper, 9/8 each, along with a 9/8 from Peyton Childs, and then Katie Finnegan led the way with a 9.85 on the vault. But both teams, I think, Sarah, are looking to pick up those scores a little bit here in the second rotation.
Both teams should be able to really settle in, enjoy their gymnastics. They've got one rotation under their belt, and as you get further into the competition, it's usually the athletes are able to kind of calm those nerves and just do their gymnastics.
All right, here's a look at the vault lineup for NC State, led off by sophomore Meg Adler. This is just her second career vault. Vaulted once last season in 9.725. She leads off.
Leads the team with a Yurchenko full. You saw a sizable hop on the landing, but just like the Georgia team, they're focused on doing powerful vaults. Kim Landris wants to see them stick those landings, but as always, it's better to take a hop forward or backwards rather than under rotate and take a hop forward.
So Adler, who Kim Landris praised as having a really great preseason, earning that leadoff spot on vault, getting things started for the Wolfpack, and now for the second time in as many events, Amanda Cashman, the 5th year, will lead off for Georgia, this time on the uneven bars.
She starts off with a big mistake from the 5th year Tkachev. That's normally something that she could do in her sleep, so pretty uncharacteristic mistake from her. Take another look at it. Just not able to get the rotation around the bar, and her hands just slip right off. Unfortunate to come at the top of the routine and now placing a big challenge on the rest of this bar's lineup, but like we said, she has that experience to rely on, so she can go back and essentially start the routine over and try to just get through this set. She's going to repeat the Tkachev. Nicely done there, fighting for that handstand. Toe on to shoot over combination. Amanda is an athlete that's normally very comfortable in this leadoff position, so pretty uncharacteristic mistake finishing her routine with a double layout, able to hang on by her toes to get that landing. It's definitely a routine that she'll want back.
There was no shortage of pressure on this Georgia team early, Sarah. You look at having to go 5 up, 5 count on vault. It's basically what they're going to do now on bars, right? That's the score that you're going to want to drop, and Georgia's in another position where they need to hit 5 in a row. Meanwhile, we go back to NC State. Maddie Hall, who got her career off to such a great start with that 9-8 bars routine, continuing her day in the all-around.
And another great set from her. Yurchenko layout full, tiny shift back on the landing. But a nice clean vault. Of course, the Yurchenko full just from a 9.95, so fighting for every single 10th since it's not out of that 10.0 start.
Well, she's got to be really happy with her day so far at the midpoint. Joining the 2 5th-year all-arounders, Maddie Hall in her first collegiate meet. Opened with a 9.8. We'll see what she scores there on vault. Now back to Sydney Fitzgerald.
This is her first career appearance on the uneven bars, and this is a brand new routine for her. So talk about pressure being packed on. Not only is she coming after a fall, but this will be the very first time that she competes this routine in this setting.
Yeah, and I thought one of the interesting things, Sarah, as we were talking with Courtney Kupets-Carter earlier this week, was the fact that they talked about this routine being ahead of schedule. She thought that maybe they were making those changes to be ready a year from now. Fitzgerald only a sophomore, but she said she took to it really well. They feel good about where it is, and we're going to see it now in a pressure-packed environment.
She starts off with that new combination. She'll do a Tkachev right down to a shoot over. Nicely done. That is the combo that the coaches were so impressed that she picked up so quickly. Just her dismount left. Double layout. Had to take 2 little shift backs, little steps on the landing. But overall, what a great way for her to come out and hit a routine. Take another look, that Tkachev straight to shoot over. A difficult combination. Finishing with the double out. You see those feet, just can't quite hold on to the landing, but overall a great set from her.
Yeah, she should be thrilled with that in her first collegiate routine in competition. And Georgia's going to need some more of that following the early fall. Back to NC State, Lex Ortega after a fall on bars here on vault.
Another Yurchenko full, sizable hop on the landing, but love to see how much power she brings to the vault lineup. We'll take another look here. Look at how she gets her arms back on the block, a little bit of soft elbows on the table, and a nice powerful vault.
That's following opening scores of 9-7, 2-5 from Adler and another 9-8 for Maddie Hall, who's gone back-to-back 9-8. So we'll await the score there from Ortega as NC State is halfway home on the vault here in rotation 2.
Really excited to see this routine from Addie. Once again, dealing with the pressure. We've got 1 hit routine under our belt for Georgia. Also her first career appearance on the bars. A little bit short on that first handstand, but she starts with a Shapash straight to pack salto combination. You notice she gets pretty far over the bar on that half turn. That'll be a deduction. You want to hit those handstands right on top. That's one of the biggest things the judges are looking for, but able to hold on to the stick. Ends with that exclamation point. That is also what the judges want to see. We'll take a look at her double layout.
Nice finish there. You can see the smile.
She's definitely happy to have that first career routine under her belt and to cap it off with a stuck landing.
So Georgia has survived the pressure so far. They've hit 2 routines there. You see the 9-7-5 come up from Fitzgerald. Back to Ashley Knight, freshman front entry vault.
That is a vault that Coach Landers is so excited about. Really dynamic athlete, does that front entry that's different than most of the Yurchenkos that you'll see throughout the competition today. See, she gets a nice block off the vault, front pike half. Little bit of a sideways hop, but you'll notice that she stays in between those 2 white lines. Just like on the floor exercise, those white lines indicate out of bounds. If you're able to stay inside the lines, you escape extra deduction, but they'll definitely take for the hop sideways on the landing.
Now looking at Katie Finnegan, who will be up 4th for Georgia on the uneven bars. That early fall from Amanda Cashman, putting some pressure on the rest of this Georgia lineup. Sydney Fitzgerald responded with a 9-7-5. We saw a hit routine a moment ago from Addie Wall.
The back half of this Georgia bars lineup is so impressive. You'll see a lot of really big gymnastics, huge release moves and combinations. Potential for them to get some really big scores. Katie starts off with a Ray. Nicely done. Transition down to the low bar, pack salto. You see her feet come apart just a little bit. to find this landing full twisting double. Small hop back, but you can see her holding it and trying to really sell it to the judges.
Well, and Sarah, I do think one thing that we've seen is the point of emphasis as we look at vault right now. You talk about landings being important on vault, and you said that kind of step into the salute, trying to get away from that. I think it's been good. We've seen gymnasts really try to go the opposite way, where you might, if you were a little iffy on that landing, just step right into the salute and try to paper over it. Now you're seeing gymnasts go the opposite way and really hold on and dig in for those landings, which I think is better overall.
Definitely, and a great landing from her on that Yurchenko full. Something that these athletes had to work really hard on in the preseason training is finding that landing and holding it for a full second, showing the judges that they have control just like that before they turn and salute. We like to joke about the college stick where you land and then quickly turn to the judges and try to minimize that deduction, but that is no more. You have to show control to avoid that 10th being taken from your final score.
All right, well, Sarah, you talked about some of the home run potential in the back half of this Georgia Bars lineup, and a big part of that is Jeffrey Scott, the sophomore, went 9.95 as a freshman, competed every meet last season on bars for Georgia, and they are counting on her to have a big sophomore year here in Athens.
If there are two routines in this bars lineup that have 10.0 potential, they come from Jeffrey Scott and then the anchor Lily Smith. Jeffrey's routine is just jam-packed. She's actually capable of doing much harder skills than she's going to compete today, if you can even believe it. This is an incredibly difficult routine right from the top. Starting off with a huge ray to pack salto. Just a little bit close on the bar, but keeping control. Van Leeuwen up to the high bar, fighting for those handstands. Watch this, such a big dismount, double layout. Tiniest of hops on the landing. She's hoping the judges didn't even notice the shift in her feet, but wow, what a great job from her. Check out how high she flies on these release moves. Starting from that first release, big, I mean, it's just gigantic gymnastics, really impressive to watch. Finishing with the double layout, and just the smallest shift on the landing.
Yeah, that opening release there is a wow, and we'll see what the judges do with it as you see a 9.85 come up for Emily Shepard. High score so far, and now Chloe McGreedy.
Wow, great way to cap off that vault. I mean, just incredible control in the air, and she really, you could see her toes digging into the mat to hold on to that landing. Great job from her.
We really haven't talked about McGreedy a whole lot yet. She is the third of those fifth years. Ortega and Shepard are the two all-arounders, but McGreedy is a really talented gymnast as well. She was the College Gym News 2023 Comeback Gymnast of the Year after she missed the entire 2022 season. So to have her back for a fifth year, just part of the luxury of this NC State veteran lineup that they've got. And from there, we'll go to Lily Smith, the Georgia freshman. You talked about it, Sarah, a potential 10-0. And Courtney Kupats-Carter raved about her potential, her line, the technical beauty that she is able to compete with, and really looking forward to seeing her make her collegiate debut here on bars.
You won't see quite as much difficulty in this routine, but I mean, you said it, the lines and just the technical perfection that she's able to perform with. Look at the toe point and the extension all the way throughout her body. Finishing those handstands right on top of the bar. Full twisting double back. Wow. What an incredible way to start off your bars career as a freshman. The team is so pumped for her. That was absolutely stunning.
And she just looks so composed throughout. Like you said, she has that line, but also just took her time, spotted the landing, just no visible jitters or anything of any kind. This is a beautiful first collegiate routine. Wow.
She was in no rush. It was as if she was saying, everyone watch me. Beautiful job.
Exhibition vault now for NC State senior Krista Zoltovitz.
Another great Yurchenko layout full. That was one that they really actually could have used in the lineup. A beautiful landing from her, great control.
Yeah, I think that certainly would have scored. Negrete, by the way, you can see the score there in the overall vault scores for NC State. Negrete closed it out on a high note with a 9.875, and NC State actually just a tick ahead of Georgia on vault with a 49.025. So again, kind of that magic 49 number for those gets you a 196. I think NC State would certainly sign for on the road today at Stegman, and Negrete, a high mark is the home crowd applauds at least 110-0 from one of the judges. What a way to start for Lily Smith in your first collegiate routine.
I mean, talk about a boost of confidence to go out and just straight out of the gate have a judge flash at 10.0. A lot of times it takes a little bit of time for you to establish your name in the collegiate setting and get the respect of the judges, but I mean, they just could not deny how gorgeous that routine was.
Courtney Kupets-Carter described it as a 10-0 bars routine if there's no deductions, and she goes out and backs it up with a 9.975. What a way to begin your collegiate career. And how about Georgia, after starting with a fall from Amanda Cashman, hitting 5 routines to close out bars? Sarah, just a terrific performance.
I mean, just incredible, dealing with adversity on both teams are dealing with adversity, having to come back from falls and doing a great job so far.
98.150 for Georgia at the midpoint as they get some big performances on bars. They've got the lead and we're halfway home in the 2024 season opener. Georgia in the lead at the midpoint, a 49.175 on bars for the Gym Dogs. Gives them the advantage by 0.4, 98.150 to 97.750. As we've mentioned, this is the inaugural season for ACC Gymnastics, and NC State, the team coming to Athens today, picked in a tie with North Carolina to win the league. Clemson, in their first season as a program, picked third. Pitt picked fourth, and we'll get to see 4 on the floor on March 23rd when those teams compete for the inaugural ACC Championship. So something really exciting to keep an eye on as we welcome you back inside Stegman Coliseum. And Sarah, Georgia so far, they've got the lead, but it has not come easy. The injury to Haley DeYoung in warm-ups. They have to go 5 up on vault. They have a fall in their opening routine on bars, and yet here they are. They've hit the routines they've needed to hit, and they're surviving so far with 2 rotations left.
Surviving is right, and they have really showed a lot of poise, having to dig themselves out of those holes. Hopefully they can go over to beam and do a consistent set throughout the first few people who are going to be freshmen in this Georgia beam lineup. So a huge test coming over on the balance beam as well.
All right, before we get to beam, let's look at some highlights from the second rotation, and we'll begin with NC State. They saved the best for last, Chloe Negrete on vault.
She did a great Yurchenko layout full. You can see her just digging her toes into the mat to hold on to that landing and fight to show control. And then, of course, Lily Smith over on the bars. Huge routine for this Georgia Gym Dog team. Just gorgeous lines. Look at how she can swing through her movements. Her toes are perfectly pointed, hitting every handstand right on top of the bar. And then the exclamation point of the routine comes right here. Full twisting, double back dismount. She's not going anywhere. Amazing job from the freshman.
9.975 in her first routine, and 10 feels like a matter of when, not if. All right, Georgia looking for some consistency. We'll see if they can find it on beam. NC State to floor exercise when we come back to Athens with rotation number 3. favorite sayings in collegiate gymnastics is that the beam is only 4 inches wide. Well, this is a visual courtesy of Bart Connor. This is why he's the best. You put it in this kind of perspective. Look at the iPhone or the cell phone in your hand. That's how wide it is. It's actually less wide than that. Sarah, I don't know if that's helpful or not for you to think about back to your time as a gymnast, that it was actually less wide than a cell phone to be doing all the things that these gymnasts are expected to do on the balance beam.
Well, and if you've never stood on a balance beam before, I can tell you that once it is 4 feet off the ground, it actually does look even more narrow.
Very true. Well, Georgia going to try to put that aside here as they take a 4/10 lead into balance beam and looking for some consistency, which has escaped them in the first couple of rotations. And they turn to a freshman, Addie Wall, in this very pivotal leadoff spot.
And she starts off her routine with a triple series right off the top, showing a lot of confidence. Side semi, solid. That split 3/4 jump, landing sideways on the beam, also adds a little bit of difficulty. Finishing with a round of 1.5 dismount, small hop forward on the landing, but what an impressive way to come out as a freshman and put up a solid routine. I mean, she looked incredible up there, very comfortable. Coach Capets Carter said that she is so confident in having her in this leadoff position. So we take another look at that triple series. I mean, just beautiful. 2 back handsprings layout, no movement. Finishing with the 1.5 twist, small hop forward, beautiful.
Yeah, Georgia hopes to have Nia Howard back when she returns in that leadoff spot, but Addie Wall is a freshman having to go in there and hit, and she does with a very important first routine. And now over on floor exercise, continuing her afternoon in the all-around, it's 5th-year Lex Ortega to lead off for the Wolfpack.
We told you that Lex was a go-getter. She had that uncharacteristic mistake early on the bars, looking to recover and do a nice leadoff routine for her team here over on the floor exercise.
This was NC State's strongest event as a team last year. Ortega, a big part of the reason why they ranked 24th in the country on floor.
Everyone on this team is debuting brand new floor routines this year. Even the returners have new choreography. You see that 1.5 punch to front layout. Floor, of course, an area where these athletes can really show off their personality and have some fun. Many athletes will say that for that reason they love competing floor the most. Final pass here. Combination front layout to front full, just a tiny bit short on that landing, able to cover it up well, minimize those deductions. Good way to lead off this floor rotation for the NC State.
NC State will go back-to-back all-arounders here to start off on floor. As we look at our meet summary, Georgia held a 2.5-10th lead at the end of one rotation. Katie Finnegan, the high scorer in vault, with a 9.85, and then Georgia got some really terrific performances down the home stretch in the second rotation, capped off by that 9.975 from Lily Smith, 49.175 on bars. And Georgia has opened up a 4/10th advantage here in this season opening dual meet. Now we go back to beam. It's actually back-to-back freshmen, 4 total in this beam lineup for Georgia. This is Jada Battle.
Jada is incredible on this event, actually holds a national title at the junior Olympic level. So prior to coming to college, she was beam queen. You see that front toss to beat jump combination, really beautiful. All-important series back handspring layout. You notice how sharp she works with her arms, really pulling herself up to show that she is certain of her landings. Just her dismount, gainer full off the side. Nice job. What a great routine
Well, the
to
Beam
start off.
Queen,
We'll take
she has
another look.
brought those skills with her to Athens for sure. Just a terrific start here, Sarah, as they go back-to-back freshmen, back-to-back hits.
Working with so much poise and confidence. You can see her teammates are just as excited as she is with that routine.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you look in the background of those shots, you can see one of them, Haley DeYoung, who took that really tough fall in warm-ups, scratched from all 4 lineups today, inactive and yet still there with a big smile on her face, cheering on some of these freshmen. That's what real leadership is about for this Georgia team as we look at the NC State floor lineup and a really impressive freshman, Maddie Hall, who has started 9-8, 9-8 in her first 2 events, now trying to keep that streak going on floor exercise.
She opens up her routine with a double tuck, nice clean landing. If you describe Lex Ortega's gymnastics as dynamic and powerful, you could say that Maddie is a very artistic gymnast. Coach Moon just loves how she works through all of her dance, really expressing herself. That is called a Ruby for handspring 1.5 twist. You'll notice them pulling off that little 4-inch mat. The gymnasts are allowed to use a little bit of extra padding if they choose. It's a little bit more common early in the season. Collegiate gymnastics is a long few months, and these athletes compete every weekend, have to keep those ankles and knees safe. Finishing up with her combination pass. Great job.
Well, it continues to be a terrific opening performance for Maddie Hall, and she'll have 1 event left on beam as we look back at her floor routine.
Nice clean double tuck to start the routine. And she finishes with a 1.5 twist to front layout. Love to see the control on the landings.
Back over to beam now. Sydney Fitzgerald, a sophomore, only competed 3 times on beam last season, so this is just her 4th career routine. She had 2 9.7s and a 9.8 in her freshman season.
Talk about an athlete who is really stepping up and is so excited to contribute to the team score. She starts off with a nice back handspring layout series. Once again, showing a lot of confidence in her landing. One thing you want to look for on the balance beam is not only the acrobatic skills where they tumble, but also the leaps and turns. Those all contribute to that 10.0 start value. Really cool elements, side aerial to 2 feet. And the dismount left for her. 1.5 twist. Once again, just the smallest step forward on the landing, but what an incredible routine to add to this lineup, showing so much poise and control through every element. That dismount round off 1.5. Great job.
Back over on floor exercise now. Krista Zoltovich, who we saw in exhibition on vault, who gets to begin her senior season in competition here. Career high 9.875 on floor that she recorded last year for NC State.
Starting off with a twisting to punch front combination pass. The athletes are required to do a combo pass where you do 2 acrobatic elements in a row. Just like on the balance beam, focusing on those leaps on the floor exercise is really important as well. You have to put just as much emphasis on those leaps and turns in practice as you do on the tumbling to minimize the deductions in competition. coaches and teammates describe her as a go-getter, and I would say that she definitely got it done with that routine and had fun doing it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we talked about this trio of fifth years, but Zoltovics is a fourth-year senior, brings a ton of experience with her as well, and awesome to see her get to cap it off. That was a beautiful last pass there to finish things up. Back over to Beam for Georgia, where the youth movement continues, and in fact, back-to-back freshmen here in the 4 and 5 spots. 4 of the 6 competitive routines and 5 of the 7 overall, if you want to include the exhibition, will feature freshmen. This is Anya Turner.
Anya gets her routine started with a huge acro series right off the top. She's going to do a back handspring with 2 layouts. I mean, just no doubt in her mind that she was going to hit that. It's incredible to see these young athletes working with so much confidence. That's something that they really pay attention to in the gym. When they have inner squads, sometimes they go through the beam rotation 2 and 3 times, making sure that everyone hits routine after routine in a pressure set. You can see it paying off today. Tiniest little hop on the landing, but what a gorgeous and clean set from Anya.
Thus far, the freshmen have certainly delivered for Georgia in spots where they have needed it. Back-to-back 9.85s going into this routine, and Turner delivers another good one.
Look at her just work with so much precision. Tiniest little hop, and that will come with experience. She'll learn how to really grab the mat with those toes and stick that landing.
Speaking of freshmen, on the ACC newcomer watch list, Ashley Knight. We saw her earlier on vault, now continuing her down on 4 extra sets.
Just like she has that front entry vault, she starts off with a gorgeous front double full. It's actually pretty difficult to do it from a punch without the front handspring ahead of the acro skill, so very impressive from her. Working from just a punch, front full to front height. Setting up for her final tumbling pass. She'll finish with a Rudy to back layout step out. You see her sneaking in that backwards element right there at the end, fulfilling the requirement of going backwards in her routine. Great way for her to debut a floor routine in a big coliseum. Looked like she really felt comfortable out there, having a lot of fun.
And again, I think the same thing that you could say about the front entry vault. It's nice to have that type of variety in your floor lineup in terms of performance style, in terms of elements, in terms of the actual tumbling. And Ashley Knight, as a freshman, has certainly provided that. Another highlight from a freshman today was Lily Smith on bars in the last rotation, 9.975. Set the bar high, no pun intended, as we look at her second collegiate routine here on the beam.
You saw the artistry that she showed on the uneven bars with the toe point, the extension, and it's showcased so beautifully on this event. You see her starting off with her acrobatic series, front aerial to 2 back handsprings. I love how she takes her time with each element, just moving through the routine. Oh, not quite 180-degree split on that second leap. The judges will definitely take a mark off for that. It's called a front toss. to see her continue to move through this routine, exactly what Coach Kupets-Carter wanted to see. Don't let tiny mistakes hold you back. Small step forward on the landing, but once again, just going up and being able to hit a routine in a pressure-packed situation. A good job from her, and definitely some areas that she can get back in the gym and improve on.
Georgia has gone 5 for 5 to start their beam lineup, and they'll have Jeffrey Scott in the anchor position. Back over on floor now for Emily Shepard as she keeps her day going in the all-around preseason watch list in the ACC, the back-to-back Eagle Gymnast of the Year previous conference for NC State.
And you'll definitely see why she is one to watch with this exciting routine from choreography to tumbling. Opening up with a huge double pike, nice control on the landing. Fun to see the teammates on the sideline doing the dance along with her. These athletes spend so much time together, and they definitely know each other's floor routines inside and out. No problem for this NC State team. They all look so well prepared with these floor routines. Nice control on all the landings. Definitely something to note as you start off the season. Take another look at her combination pass, front layout to front full. Capping off her routine with a nice high double tuck. Look at the control on the landing, just leaving no doubt.
Yeah, that's the word for me, Sarah, is the control that she showed in that routine. You look at that controlled lunge she took on the first pass, just seemed to really be exactly where she wanted to be throughout, and that's exactly what you would expect from Shepard. They'll have McGreedy in the anchor spot, and now to finish up in terms of competition routines for Georgia on beam, this is Jeffrey Scott.
We saw a routine featuring a lot of front tumbling on the floor, and Jeffrey has a really unique beam routine plan today. She actually does quite a bit of front tumbling on the balance beam, very unique, starting right here. Front handspring to her back handspring layout, step out. Not quite able to hold on. For an aerial to split combination. She's an athlete who has really been working on trying to get more consistent. She had some problems last year with just building that confidence on the balance beam. You hear the crowd going crazy for the moonwalk, a Georgia tradition passed down from athlete to athlete. Nice way to finish the routine. That front handspring front full dismount is so unique, something that the judges do not see often. So pretty cool to see that from her. Another look at that moonwalk. It's definitely a crowd pleaser here in Stegman Coliseum. Another look at that dismount for handspring to front full. Nice landing. You can see that she wants to get back up on the beam and just repeat that series really quick and say, oh, judges, I can do that.
Appreciate it. It's such a tough series too, right, Sarah? You've got all your momentum going forward. You've got to keep that momentum and that consistency and then go immediately backwards. It's such a high degree of difficulty, maybe more than it even looks. And yeah, she will have more weeks in front of her to straighten that out. Georgia will drop that last score. Meanwhile, in the anchor position for NC State on floor is Chloe McGreedy.
You can expect a really dynamic floor set here, starting off with a double pike. Example. Her teammates can really look to her and expect her to come to the gym every day and just work hard, get her gymnastics done. That's something that's really contagious. Motivates everyone around her. Just a little bit short on that landing. Good hit routine for that lineup. Really impressive to see them all go out and have consistent floor routines, especially in week 1 of the season. We'll take another look at her combination pass front full to punch front. Maybe a little bit soft knees. Needs to get a little bit more height on that front full.
Now we'll go back to ball for Georgia. This is an exhibition routine. Zora Morgan becomes the 5th freshman that we have seen on this beam line.
She has so much potential on this event. Really showcases a lot of flexibility throughout her routine. Hold on side aerial. Oftentimes the element is fine and it's just a little bit of doubt that creeps in your mind that causes you to come off of the balance beam. Not an actual technical problem with the skill. Capitalizes with stuck landing those, and once again, just great for these athletes to be able to get out an exhibition routine in a competition setting so that if they are called into the lineup, they are ready to go and have that experience under their belt.
Well, and it's an excellent sign for Georgia that, remember, Haley DeYoung was obviously going to be factored into this beam lineup, so you have to plug someone who was in the exhibition spot into the main lineup here on beam, but they're able to go 8 deep in terms of their routines as Zora Morgan moves up to that 2nd spot and gets a chance to exhibition that she might not otherwise have had today. So good testament to Georgia's depth as we go back over the floor in an exhibition routine for NC State as well.
Starting off with a front layout to Rudy. Yeah, like you said, anytime your athletes have depth on an event, I mean, that is exactly what you want, not only for the purpose of being able to put another athlete in if you need to, but also it really pushes the other people that are already in the lineup. If there's a little bit of pressure coming from number 7 or number 8, then it causes the rest of the team to work harder to keep that position in the lineup. It's really motivating for the entire team.
Similarly, on this NC State side, providing some depth and some competition on the floor lineup. We saw a high score of 9.85 from Clinton Shepard. The scores in the 9.6 range, and then 11 NC State Mighty Lions. And with that, we are 3/4 of the way home. Georgia expands their lead as they will go to floor exercise in the final rotation. NC State finishes up this season opening competition on beam. We'll be back to Stegman Coliseum with more after this. The season opener for the Georgia Gym Dogs is also Alumni Day here inside Stegman Coliseum, and the 16th ranked Georgia team has delivered so far, leading by 8/10 over NC State heading to the final rotation. Sarah, obviously you are a part of this great tradition. Many All-Americans, national champions represented on the floor, and a really neat moment to bring so many different chapters of this program back together under the roof at Stegman Coliseum today.
I mean, there's so much greatness under this roof today, of course, all led by Suzanne Yocklin, who has led this program to 10 national championships, 16 SEC championships, and set up Courtney beautifully to kind of lead this new era of Georgia gymnastics into greatness as well.
Absolutely. You look at the storied history of this program, those 10 NCAA titles are the most among any program as they look to get back into that rarefied era that they found with 5 straight national championships under Suzanne Yocklin, 42 individual national titles among 20 different gymnasts, and as you said, Sarah, those 16 SEC championships, the most by any program. It is big shoes to fill by whoever steps into them because of the tradition that Coach Yocklin brought to this program for many decades. And you look at the competition around the SEC has never been more challenging than it is now. Florida, the defending champions, national runner-up, and all that they bring back, 11 returnees. Kentucky, a team that finished 6th in the final polls last season, ranked 9th in the preseason, so consistent, 49 and above every rotation last season. And then LSU bringing back every routine from a team that finished 4th at nationals, adding 7 newcomers there in Baton Rouge. This is just, it's a grind, Sarah, week in and week out to compete in this league. Whoever comes out on top deserves a chance at a national title.
Absolutely, and don't think that these athletes are not paying attention, and seeing what these other SEC teams are capable of doing is just motivating them to work harder and harder every day in the gym, because come SEC championship, it is just anyone's day.
All right, plenty of highlights in the third rotation. Georgia got off to a great start on beam, and again, it's a freshman stealing the show, Anya Turner, who had a 9.875 to lead the way.
I mean, incredible job from her, just working with so much confidence, solid series, beautiful dismount. The smile on her face really says it all. And over to the floor with Emily Shepard. Such an artistic routine, packed with power as well. She opens with that huge double pike, so much control on her landings. Exactly what the judges are looking for, especially this early in the season.
That was the high water mark for NC State, a 9.85 for Shepard. She'll finish up her day in the all-around, and the teams will finish up the team competition when we return with the final rotation. NC State to beam, Georgia to floor. We're back with the 4th rotation in Stegman next. Meet summary through the first 3 rotations here in Stegman Coliseum. Georgia has opened their lead wider and wider each time. In the third rotation, they went 49-1 on beam, led by a 9.875 from Anya Turner in her first career beam routine. Georgia extended their lead by 4/10, now an 8/10 advantage, 147-250 for the Gym Dogs. They will be on floor exercise, but first, NC State on beam, led off by sophomore Meg Adler in her first career routine on the beam.
And starting off super strong with her acro series back handspring layout step out. Beam can be nerve-wracking anywhere. Of course, we showed you how skinny the beam is, and when you're up there, it looks even skinnier as you look down. But coming into a big coliseum like this, and when the meet is close and you have an opportunity to capitalize for your team, the pressure is definitely on. She's handling it well so far. Beautiful side aerial. Finishing with a gainer full off the side, grabbing onto that landing and not moving those feet. Nice start for NC State on the balance beam.
Yeah, both coaches go with relative inexperience in that all-important leadoff routine on beam, adding Wall, the true freshman for Georgia, Meg Adler, a sophomore who didn't have complete beam as a freshman, and both deliver with hit routines. So now we go over the floor, and Sarah, Georgia has been able to stay one step ahead all day today. They had that injury to Haley DeYoung, which we've mentioned several times during warm-up. They've got a couple of lingering injuries from the preseason. This is really going to test their depth, especially with two freshmen, Lily Smith and Addie Wall, who do not even have a lot of practice experience between the two in those 5 and 6 months. But they're looking to get off to a good start here with the Kentucky transfer national player on top of the lineup.
Talk about a test for her. These are brand new tumbling passes that she's debuting, starting with a front fold to a double twist. No problems at all. Once again, let's focus on the control of the landing. Just great poise from her in that first pass. This Georgia lineup takes advantage of the opportunity to only compete with 2 tumbling passes. Traditionally, we see 3 passes from athletes. We saw that a lot from NC State. But she fulfills all of her requirements with only 2, finishing with that gorgeous Rudy's back layout step out. Nice way to top off or start off this Georgia lineup. We'll take another look at her tumbling. Look at how well she moves through the pass and then just leaves no doubt on the landing, showing complete control. Minimizing landing deductions, of course, with that layout step out. It's much easier to stick when you land in that step out position. Very clever.
Credit to Georgia's coaches as well as Ashlyn for reworking that floor lineup this deep into her career, and obviously pays dividends there. Her career high at Kentucky was a 9.825. We'll see what that scores in the opening spot in the floor lineup. And now Macy Jennings, speaking of making switches, a new dismount this season for Jennings. On her B routine, she's up second for NC State.
She'll start off with a triple series as well. 2 back handsprings, the layout, step out, gorgeous. Difficulty. I've really loved the trend in the past couple of seasons to see NCAA gymnastics work more towards the difficulty. Comes off the beam on that side aerial. We mentioned how gymnastics is becoming a much more popular spectator sport, and I think a lot of that can be attributed to these athletes working in a lot more difficulty into their routines. It's just really exciting to watch. Nice job finishing up. Gainers full off the side for her. It's those January jitters we talk about, just not quite able to hang on the side aerial, which is probably one of the easier skills in her routine.
Haley DeYoung, who suffered a difficult injury on vault in the pre-meet warm-ups today, inactive, as you can see, on crutches and with that left leg heavily braced. All SEC on 2 different events last year, in her second year as a team captain, and Sarah, it must be overwhelmingly difficult out there today, suffering that disappointment and the uncertainty of the extent of that injury, but she has been nothing but a terrific captain, a terrific teammate out there cheering for her team and cheering for her words up the second time.
You know that she's definitely upset about what happened, but it just shows how much of a team player she is to be out here cheering on her teammates, excited for what they're going to accomplish even without her today. Front full to punch front layout. Oh, just hanging on to staying in bounds. It looked like her toe wanted to go over that line, but she pulled it back. Erin has so much power and is really fun to watch on this event. She finishes her routine with a double tuck. Tiny hop forward. Once again, that under rotation. You're looking for the athlete to land right up and down, and then step backwards into the lunge if they are going to take a step. Overall, a solid routine from her and something that she'll really be able to build upon.
We'll update you on the all-around competition today. Addie Wall, as a freshman, the only all-arounder for Georgia without DeYoung competing, and she has the lead heading into this final rotation over the trio of NC State all-arounders. Interestingly, it's Maddie Hall, the other true freshman, right there in the mix, just half a tenth back. Emily Shepard there as well. And Ortega had that earlier fall, and tough first day for her, though. She'll get another crack at it here on beam. But Maddie Hall, Sarah, finishing up a really, really impressive collegiate debut in the all-around here on beam.
Yes, and of course, her first time up on the balance beam. Not able to hold on to that series, so now we see that NC State will be having to count a fall on this event. Super unfortunate for them after being able to really carry themselves through this meet without any major setbacks.
Yeah, both teams to this point, Sarah, have done such a nice job of handling adversity when it's popped up, and so disappointing for NC State, who I think really makes a lot of their name on their consistency and their ability to hit, to have just a freshman mistake and a tough moment, because it was a great, great day for Hall up until this point.
I think she can still exit this day feeling really proud of herself. She's had some beautiful moments, and I mean, look at how many routines she has ahead of her in her career. She'll have plenty of time to iron out the mental mistakes and get that experience under her belt. I think she has a really great career ahead of her. Finishing up with a gainer full. Disappointed, but definitely a lot of room to grow for her.
All right, so NC State, as Sarah mentioned, will have to count the fall as Jennings and Hall come off the beam back-to-back. They still have 3 routines remaining as Georgia tries to keep it going. Meanwhile, on floor exercise, tough moment for the freshman, first career fall, and I have Kim Landris coming over to talk to her, and I think Sarah probably saying something in the neighborhood of what you said, that there's a terrific day here, a lot of positive in front of her as a freshman. Now back over to floor exercise for Sydney Fitzgerald, up third for Georgia.
Once again, this is a reconfigured routine for Sydney, so something that she hasn't put on the floor in competition before, but they felt that reconfiguring her routine a little bit just suited her better, and it's going to allow her to score higher. Starting with a Rudy, it's a punchback layout. Double tuck. There's that step back into the lunge that you want to see. I would say that the new routine is working out quite well. That'll be a really fun one to watch as the season goes on. Take another look at that
Say the same
first.
for LeClaire, who opened with a 9.8.
Definitely, that first tumbling pass, you see that little shift on the landing. The purpose of doing that layout step out is to minimize those landing deductions, but nothing that she can't fix with a little bit more practice.
All right, trying to get things back on track now for NC State. Back-to-back falls, so the Wolfpack will have to count one here, but they've got their 3 fifth-years in the back half of this beam lineup: Ortega, Shepard, and Negrete, so a lot of experience to try to close it out strong.
Really cool series from her. Unfortunately, the trouble continues. These falls, they can just be contagious. But love seeing that awesome acrobatic series. That's called a back handspring to an anodi. It's really challenging. She finishes on a blind landing, making it much more difficult to stay on top of the beam. Another unique element of that front handspring step out. Unfortunate to see those falls continue for NC State in this beam lineup because they really are doing some fun gymnastics, some really cool skills.
Unfortunately, that is now 3 in a row for NC State, and the final scoreline here is not going to flatter the Wolfpack after they really had a good day going. And Georgia, meanwhile, is trying to keep it up here and close out strong. Amanda Cashman, the 5th year, will get to finish up her day. She's competed in 3 events. We'll wrap up things on floor where she's gone as high as 9.925 in her career.
Definitely huge scoring potential here for Georgia. Experience is on her side, and she knows how to sell a floor routine. To really pull that 1.5 to punch front full out. It looked like she was slightly off, but covered it up really well. Amanda worked incredibly hard this preseason to get back into gymnastics form. She actually thought that she was done with gymnastics. She finished her senior year. She was looking at jobs and was ready to start the next chapter, and then called up Courtney and said, you know what, I don't think I'm quite done. And here she is back contributing to her team in a really big way. And I know they're excited to have her.
Yeah, you almost count her as a part of this #1 recruiting class. You bring back all of her experience and her talent as well.
Absolutely. You see her using that experience to her advantage, able to pull that double tuck up at the very end of the routine. It's exactly what Coach Capets-Carter wanted to see from her athletes, working through the tiny mistakes and not letting them completely derail the routine. Let's take another look at this combination pass. You see she does a 1.5 and then just moves sideways on that front full punch. Didn't quite get her feet set to get all the way around, but like I said, covered it up really well. That could have been disastrous.
And NC State, meanwhile, has had a rough spell of it here on beam. 3 falls in a row from Macy Jennings, Maddie Hall, and Lex Ortega. So Emily Shepard, who is closing out her day in the all-around final, all-arounder here for NC State, will try to stop that streak and finish what has really been a terrific day in the all-around. She was 1/2 a tenth back of Maddie Wall in those individual all-around standings at the end of 3 rotations, and it'd be great to see her on beat where she's gone as high as 9.925 in her career.
You can see why right off from the top she has so much presence on this event. The way that she just commands your attention with her dance, her artistry, starting off with a difficult leg up, full turn. Loves being up on this event performing. showing no signs of nerves. All the way through to her fingertips. Side aerial to back 1.5 dismount. Pretty big step back on the landing, but otherwise just really no problems in that routine. She looked so calm and confident up on the beam. Take another look. Watch the precision that she works through this acro series. That handspring layout, pulls those arms right up on top, and finishing it with her side aerial 1.5 dismount. Able to hold on to that landing and get a hit for this lineup.
And exactly who you wanted up in a spot where things were starting to get away from NC State. Great routine there for Shepherd, and now Lily Smith capping off her day, 3 events in her first collegiate meet, and now this is an event and floor exercise where she's only been doing full routines for about a week or so. Doesn't quite have the numbers on this event that she did on bars and on beam. We'll see what she's able to do here.
Well, not only has she only been doing routines for about a week, but she has actually switched up her floor routine as well, so doing some different tumbling classes. She's actually capable of doing a front double full to punch front in that first pass. Opted to do the 1.5 punch front to fulfill that requirement today, but definitely something that you can look forward to seeing maybe later in the season as she gets some more experience and numbers under her belt.
This was an outstanding debut. 9.975 really stole the show on uneven bars earlier. Competed on beam and then steps in on floor and delivered a hip routine when Georgia needed it.
I mean, check out the control that she has throughout the entire pass, and not only that, but her legs are absolutely glued together. The form is just beautiful throughout the routine.
Last competition routine now for NC State is Chloe Negrete on the balance beam.
You have to think that she's thinking, I just want to get up here and get a hit routine for my team. Gorgeous acro series, filling that requirement of 2 elements connected together. Double full. Gorgeous way to cap off the stuck landing. There's some things that this NC State team would love to get back in this balance beam rotation, but that's the way that you want to finish, with 2 beautiful routines. Definitely a beam squad that can really get back in the gym and improve. They have some awesome gymnastics that they showcase, and I think they'll be one to watch as the season moves on.
Final routine of the day belongs to Addie Wall, who will finish up in the all-around plugged in her first career collegiate meet. You see the scores so far, a pair of 9.775s and a 9.8 on bars. A 9.725 here on floor would secure her a win in the all-around in her first career meet.
Opening up with that E-pass of full twisting double back. She showcases so much power throughout this routine. It being in this setting, the adrenaline is pumping, and what a gorgeous way for her to cap off that floor lineup.
Well, the big question as we entered today was, how is this heralded Georgia class going to deliver, this freshman class for the Gym Dogs? And Addie Wall in particular went a long way toward answering that question in the affirmative today.
Definitely stepping up when her team needed her most. Just an incredible performance.
We said a 9.725 was the magic number for Addie Wall to secure an all-around title in her first collegiate meet. Again, Georgia dealing with the disappointment and the heartache over losing Haley DeYoung for this meet and those pre-meet warm-ups, out there cheering on her team and seeing this Georgia team really put it together. Sarah, it wasn't perfect, as you would expect, in week number one, but they delivered the performances that they needed to when they needed them. They avoided the big mistakes, and we talked with Courtney Kupets-Carter about what success would look like, and that was it. That was her definition of it, and I think they delivered on that mark today.
I mean, the resiliency that this team showed just from event to event, being able to move through the mistakes, not let anything become a complete roadblock. I think that they'll definitely be happy with the performance overall, and just knowing that they can go out and get it done and get 5 routines hit to count towards a great score.
We saw the 9.9 come up for Chloe Negrete. That gives NC State a final unofficial score of 194.225 today. And Addie Wall, in her first collegiate meet, has captured the all-around title. Sarah, let's take a look back at this day for Addie, the freshman.
I mean, what a great set from start to finish, showing a beautiful landing on that dismount on bars, her 1.5-year Chinko, so much power, so much potential there on that event. A strong beam set. I think what's most impressive is that she just came out and really owned her gymnastics, stepped up for her team. I think she has a lot to be proud of and excited for coming out of this competition.
She ended up matching the high score for Georgia on floor with a 9.825, 39.175 overall in the all-around. And, you know, to get that all-around title with a 39.175 over a pair of fifth-year terrific all-conference level gymnasts in Emily Shepard and Alexis Ortega. Maddie Hall made a terrific debut for NC State, just had a fall there in her final beam routine, but Addie Wall delivered today, and Georgia overall, Sarah, with a 196.2. Despite the adversity, despite the injuries, despite everything they dealt with, I think they'll feel very pleased about this victory, this score on their season opening meet today.
We knew that the underclassmen, specifically the freshmen, were going to be a huge factor for the Georgia team, and we saw them come into play a lot for NC State. The freshmen really stepped up and did a great job contributing to their team score. So on both sides of the mat, I think we have a lot of bright futures ahead of us.
Georgia back at home in 2 weeks on January 20th against Missouri. We'll be back with you here on the SEC Network. Plus, for my partner Sarah Persinger Sailors, I'm Kevin Kopp saying so long, everyone, from Stegman Coliseum, where Georgia gets the win with a 196-2. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.